is an important month for diabetes awareness, and today we are so happy to have Dr. Edward Rico with us. Valley Professionals Community Health Center has sent him here to inform us all about the importance of understanding diabetes. Thanks for being with us.
All right, thanks for having me, Julie.
Let me first of all ask you about diabetes as a whole, because I don't know that you can put it in a few sentences, but what is diabetes really?
Well, the term diabetes really refers to exposure to high blood sugars. We think of it typically falling into groups of two patients, younger pediatric patients, teenagers, college-age students that lose the ability to produce insulin. And then the majority of patients with diabetes are, middle-aged or older, and they often produce a lot more insulin than a non-diabetic patient, but the insulin is not efficient at lowering blood sugars. So what they have in common is exposure to high blood sugars.
So when we think about diabetes, I've often heard people talk about pre-diabetes. Now, does that mean you're getting close to having it and there's something you can do to stop it, or what does that mean?
Yeah, that's a great point. Patients that have type 2 adult diabetes as well as pre-diabetes, that situation is associated with insulin resistance. So by definition, it means that they don't use insulin efficiently to lower blood sugars. So patients with pre-diabetes are not in the diabetic range, but they're not in the normal range either. So those patients are at high risk for progression in the future to full-blown type 2 diabetes.
And I've often heard say that there's things that people can do to change their health, to change their lifestyle when they're in those situations to make it better. And are there signs or symptoms that they need to look for to know that they might be in that category?
Yes, absolutely. The hallmark of diabetes is with regard to frequent urination. When blood sugars are even mildly elevated, the kidneys start to produce a lot more urine to try to offload the extra sugar. That can tend to make patients dehydrated, and as a result, they become very thirsty. If it's bad enough, they can't keep up with water intake no matter how much they consume by mouth. At the same time, most of the cells in the body have the ability to metabolize fat for energy as well as sugar. If the patient cannot metabolize sugar for energy, those cells will shift into kind of an uncontrolled fat burning mode, and patients with uncontrolled diabetes will frequently lose an extreme amount of weight in a short period of time.
Okay. And we've got some of those other symptoms on the screen right now, including the one that really frightens me the most, which is extreme fatigue. Because, doctor, let's just be honest, I think we all feel that a time or two, don't we?
Absolutely, and I think most patients are kind of tired of being told that you're not 25 years old anymore, so you shouldn't expect to feel well. Well, a lot of us in this country are not 25 years old anymore, but there's a big difference between being normal tired at the end of your day and crawling on your hands and knees, can't get off the couch tired.
Sure. And that's the kind of tired we're talking about.
That's what exposure to high blood sugars with poorly controlled diabetes does.
So what do you do with a patient? For example, someone's watching right now and they're thinking, uh-oh, I may have a couple of those, and they come to see you. What are some things that you discuss, and what can people expect when they come to see a physician?
Well, the main thing that we want to leave patients with, we're smarter today than we've ever been about the role of diabetes. At one time, patients were told routinely if they live long enough, they should expect to go blind and end up on dialysis and lose body parts through amputations. Thankfully, we know that's not true at all. It's been known for 30 years now that the classic diabetic complications with the feet, the kidneys, and the eyes are a direct result of exposure to small blood vessels to elevated blood sugars. So that's really the message. Everything we do for patients is about blood sugars, and a patient who's newly diagnosed with diabetes, either type 1 or type 2 diabetes today, can expect to live a normal lifespan, and their risk of any of those horrific complications is no higher than the public in general, as long as their control is stable.
Well, it's important that people know that, and I think it's more important that in a month like this, everybody just kind of knows that there's ways to seek help. There's ways to seek physicians like yourself. There we go, valleyprohealth.org, valleyprohealth.org. For more information, please go there. Seek out physicians who are going to make a difference and be able to answer the important questions, doctor, that you've answered for us today. I wish we had 15 minutes, not 5 minutes, because I feel like this is a topic that unfortunately affects a lot of people out there.
It does. The latest statistics from the federal government from 2019 say that 37 million people in the U.S. have diabetes. Maybe a quarter of them are not aware that they have it. So that's altogether, that's 11% of the population. And as you mentioned about patients with prediabetes, that number is even larger. It's probably 96 million patients in the U.S., so nearly a third of the population.
So it's important that we're aware and that we know. Thank you so much.
Right.
Appreciate your time, Dr. Rico.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to meet you. Once again, it's valleyprohealth.org. That's Valley Professionals Community Health, valleyprohealth.org. Please seek help if you think that you need it during this important month. And stay with us. We'll be right back.